Given how different this offseason's been, who are a couple of the young guys who have really impressed you so far, and guys who you know are going to have kind of like a breakout year for you guys to be successful this year?
Yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of those, based on the roster and the youth that we have. I think one guy in particular that came back, not a first or second year player, but Jamal Williams came back and had a little bit something different to him this year. He posted a bunch of Instagram videos during the off season, and he would send me most of them first. Like, hey, I'm working on this, and he's running these deep shake routes, post corner routes, and option routes, and all these different things. And I kept telling him, man, you look great. But then he shows up, and he just a half step quicker. The agility is there. The burst is a little bit more. So I give him a lot of credit for the way that he grew. A lot of times the big jumps come between years 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. This guy's going into his 4th season, coming off a year last year where he had multiple games in a row with touchdown catches, and it is an important part of our offense. Now, Aaron Jones obviously had a ton of touchdowns last year, but Jamal is a big part of what we're doing, and I think he kind of saw what Aaron did and said, I need to come back and be a little bit bigger factor in the receiving game, and because you need 2 backs in this league. So I think Jamal has had a fantastic camp, and I'm excited about what he's done. And the thing that he does as well is he just brings so much energy to a football team. So he's going to be an important part of what we're doing. We drafted a couple young guys in rounds 2 and 3. And the 3rd round pick is going to get some opportunities, I think, probably early, maybe earlier than the 2nd round pick. But excited about DeGuara to see what he can do as kind of a hybrid type guy. But as is the case in Green Bay, we're going to rely on some young players at important times, and communication needs to be there, and then execution needs to be there. And I think that's the difference, Pat. We're looking at this weird offseason and training camp that we've had. I think some of the guys need to kind of pinch themselves a little bit and remind each other now it counts, and there's going to be hitting and tackling and strip attempts on the ball and collisions. It's a little different than having preseason games.
We talked about that in the first hour. I was talking about what the game is potentially going to look like because we didn't have preseason games and we kind of had to shorten the OTAs. I said special teams is going to be ugly. There's going to be penalties on special teams. There's going to be timeouts used on special teams because they're not going to have enough people on the field. That's just classic preseason football with young guys who don't know that they're on field. There's going to be a lot of that. There's probably going to be some sloppiness. And then we talked about the defense not being able to tackle. Have you guys gone full go in practice more so than you would have in the past because of this?
No, we don't really tackle in practice. I don't think
anybody is, by the way.
No, there's some teams that I know tackle.
Really?
I've heard the stories. Yeah, I'm not a big proponent of that. I think there's certain football moves and abilities that if you haven't figured it out by this point, you're not going to figure it out moving forward. And tackling is a basic part of it. There's an instinct that you have to have in live game situations to be able to make tackles. I look at, Pat, I know we had an preseason in 2011, but there was so much chatter around that season. Oh, we had the lockout, it's going to be just sloppy football and all this crap. And
it was awesome.
We came out and played New Orleans in the first game and beat them, I think, 42-34. Both teams lit up the scoreboard, and it wasn't a sloppy game by any means. So I don't expect a lot of sloppiness. There might be, some of that special team stuff you're talking about. That seems to probably ring true. But, there's an expectation when you step on the field of execution, and there's not a whole lot of grace period or patience, even though we didn't have a preseason.
This is awesome to hear, by the way. I'm very pumped about that. The lockout year was a dream. I mean, I was almost a proponent of lockout every single year after that.
Yeah.
Is there any way?
Me too.
Is there any way we could potentially just lock out next year too? Training camp will come back. We'll figure out some business shit, and then we'll just keep it moving. I was all about it. But a lot of people were talking about, and I guess you just chatted about that. Is it easy to pick up like the timing with a wide receiver as a quarterback or a running back when you don't have those OTAs, or is training camp enough time for you to kind of get a feel on where somebody's going to be or where you want them to go or anything like that?
Well, with all due respect, now I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, you can. You can, by the way, yeah. That's the way it works.
I think it's plenty of time. I think the way that we did the schedule this year with the lead-in time, the first couple weeks felt like kind of an early off-season schedule. And this, I told I told a friend of mine, I said, this is the first training camp in probably the last 16, the first time ever that my arm hasn't hurt at one point during training camp.
Oh, breaking news. Breaking news.
Love that.
Which the reason for that is a lot of times you might not throw the last week or 2 weeks, or maybe throw limited during the break in the off season. Then you come in day one, they want you to throw 150, 200 balls in practice. This was a great, I thought, lead in, not just for my arm or other guys' skilled abilities, but I think it was for just kind of our wind, our football shape, weightlifting. You could lift harder when you're not practicing as hard. I thought the schedule was beautiful in order to kind of get yourself in a really good spot starting training camp.
Is this the schedule going forward? Is this what the NFLPA is going to push for? Hey, how about you remember COVID-19 was terrible, but you remember that schedule we had? It feels like football was pretty good that day. It feels like it was pretty
Well,
good.
there was some of us who pushed for this type of schedule. A good friend of mine that you used to hold for was one of my allies who was pushing for a similar schedule to this.
I assume Vinatieri and a lot of the older gentlemen were definitely pushing for a similar thing. I don't even want to.
I would add Weiser to that.
Smarter.
That as well.
Been there, done that. We've been here. Let's. This matters. This doesn't. What are we talking about? Why aren't we doing this? Yeah, there's a lot of that. I assume. That's why I was never an NFLPA member. By the way, I just didn't think it mattered. You know what I mean? Listen, everybody.
I'm not going to argue with you after going through those meetings with you on that.